All right, Steeler fans, it's the second half of Friday's podcast. Back with Jeremy Betz. He's back in his old stomping grounds on the correct side of North Carolina. What's up, Jeremy? How's it going?
Hey, West is best. That's what I always say. It was that way in South Dakota. Western South Dakota is better than Eastern South Dakota. You got the Black Hills Mountains over there, and over here it's the mountains of North Carolina in the West. So West is best. And Jeff, I just can't believe we're this far into the season already. Week 14. I mean, good grief! It's like week 1 was yesterday. But lots to talk about and for a team that is in contention.
Yeah, and I always tell people, and I have to remind myself of this as well, like to enjoy it because it goes by so fast. When you get so stuck into the routine of play a game, Tomlin press conference, injury report, podcast, game, you're like, man, next thing you know, you're talking playoffs. But here we are, the Steelers are 9-3, and they've got a tough stretch ahead of them. But it all comes to this game coming up in week 14, the Cleveland Browns at the Steelers, Acrisure Stadium. I can only I'll tell you, we'll get to our predictions in a second, but when you think about this game, what vibe are you getting?
At the expense of putting the jinx on it, I feel like there's a hammer about to drop on Cleveland Browns this weekend. And, I think for all the reasons maybe you don't say it in a press conference, George Pickens is probably absolutely right that the Steelers are a better team than the Browns. The Browns really aren't a very good team. They're weird. They're explosive at times, but they have so many deficiencies on both sides of the ball where winning is concerned, right? They turn the ball over too much. They give up too many big plays. So I just feel like this is a Steelers team out for revenge from just 2 weeks ago. They don't like that the Browns had their way with them and that Myles Garrett had his day. There's going to be a lot of animosity coming from the Steelers, in my opinion, and not like fighting guys, I don't think, but they're going to be ready to punch the Cleveland Browns in the mouth, and I think that they're going to be able to do that.
It's because people have focused so much on George Pickens' comments after the Thursday night game. What did you hear? What Myles Garrett said on national television? Did you see what Greg Newsome tweeted out about George Pickens? There's not going to be any love lost between these two teams. And I got to think that for the Steelers who lost that game on Thursday night, it sets them up to say, let's go out and show that these guys don't even belong on the same field. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But man, the last time we've talked, a lot has changed, not so much with the Steelers, but in the AFC North. What are your take on the Steelers' odds of actually claiming the North crown with what they have left in terms of their schedule? And let's just talk about the Baltimore Ravens because the other two teams are not vying for the AFC North. The Ravens, I think it's an easier stretch of games. What's your take on that?
It definitely is an easier stretch of games, although, I mean, the Steelers are kind of set up pretty well to where I think there's a real scenario if they handle Cleveland this week and then the Ravens in 2 weeks after that they just win the division. So if you win your two division games that are left before Cincinnati in the finale, the math almost basically, I think it's pretty much that you secure the AFC North if you beat the Ravens. And I'll have to check that again.
Assuming if they beat the Browns. If they beat the Browns and then take care of the Ravens, then it's pretty much.
Then the division's theirs because the Ravens would have 6 losses. Even if you lose to Philly, you've only got 4, and there's 2 games left to play. The Steelers win the division because then they have the
tiebreaker over them. Yes,
exactly. So in one regard, yes, the final stretch is easier for Baltimore, but the Steelers have 2 games that they have to win to get the job done. And to me, that makes me love the Steelers' odds. It's a team in Cleveland that they almost always split with. They do really well at home. The Browns have not won in Pittsburgh for 20 years or something like that. And then it's a team in the Ravens that the Steelers know very well and play better than anybody else. So I think that their chances are very high. And I think they can sneak in one of these other big games as well, maybe against Philadelphia, maybe against Kansas City to close it out. So I think the Steelers are in good shape. They just got to handle business, and I think Mike Tomlin's got them in that mindset to do that.
Speaking of Mike Tomlin, I talked about this at the top of the show. Did you get a chance to watch Hard Knocks?
Absolutely.
What did you think? What was your takeaway?
It was I mean, I enjoy most of the Hard Knocks shows. The only one I think I didn't watch all the way through was the Giants off-season one. So I'm a huge fan of it already. And then you get that black and gold behind the scenes look that we all want. We all want to sit in the meeting room with Mike Tomlin, right? We all want to see Terrell Austin and the defense and Grady Brown talking about how they're going to stop Joe Burrow. And just to get that exclusive look is so incredible. And I thought that the first episode was very Steelers centric. I don't know if you felt that way too. It's probably because they were the only AFC North team to win, and Cleveland didn't even play until Monday night, so that didn't even make the cut of the.
But they were also playing an AFC North team in the Bengals, so it was a very Steelers Bengals centric episode because, like you said, the Ravens are playing an NFC East team, and the Eagles and the Browns don't even play till Monday night. I have a feeling we'll see more of Cleveland next week because they'll recap the Monday night game, and they'll have a lot of the lead up to the Steelers game on Sunday. Yeah,
and the Ravens will kind of be in the Browns spot for this last week, where they're bye week and everything. So so I really think that the look at Mike Tomlin obviously stole the show, right? And what he does with this team behind the scenes. But I was impressed too with, the passion you see from Russell Wilson on the field. You don't get to see a lot of that just watching TV, how he communicates and how he responds after big plays. And he really is kind of the glue that is putting this all together, I think, just based on his play and also how he responds as a veteran leader on this team. It's something that they haven't had at the game's most important position for several years now. And I think it's the starvation for that type of leadership is showing in that they finally got it. And it's really feeding the fuels of this team.
That's interesting because everyone's talking about Tomlin, but not a lot of people are talking about Russell Wilson and his role in all of this, especially after Hard Knocks, where you get an inside glimpse of it. And leadership oftentimes can be poo-pooed. People will say, leadership. Like, what, these guys are professionals. If you need leading, but at the same token, like, you've seen what a rudderless ship looks like, we'll call it that, the offensive side of the ball, especially the last few years, where there has been no leader. There has been no one that says, follow me. And people are like, yeah, let's do it. There's maybe someone that says, follow me. And everyone's kind of like, I don't know. Should we really be following you? Hey, Mitch, I know you love football.
As captain. Yeah.
I know you love football more than anyone else. But no, it's interesting to me. I love the Hard Knocks stuff. And I thought that it was fascinating to see other teams and how they prepare. And I thought the start of the show was poignant, where they had all four coaches up there saying essentially the same exact thing.
Yeah.
They're talking about this and they're going to do that. But I said this at the top of the show, and I know you kind of alluded to it as well. The stuff that got me was Mike Tomlin in his meeting rooms with his coaching staff. I love how Minkah Fitzpatrick was in there.
Yeah.
With the brain trust on defense, and he's watching and they're talking, and it was great. It was fantastic. I look forward to next week's.
Can I mention I think 2 or 3 more points that I wanted to that I just noticed. The Bengals meeting room facility was like 3 or 4 classes below everybody else in the division. Did you notice that? They had the benches like you were in school, and then they had the one projector screen on a blank wall, and everybody else has all the logos everywhere and everything. And I was like, man, these Bengals have to walk across the street to practice. They've got to go sit in a meeting room with one projector screen. They've got it. They're the armpit of the AFC North, more or less, right?
The Steelers have to share a facility with a college team, though. Keep that in mind.
That's true. That's true.
The Ravens is the most impressive. The castle.
Yes.
That's nuts. Yeah.
Yes, that is crazy. It looks like something medieval. It's really crazy. The other thing I wanted to mention was that it was interesting to me because you have 4 teams in this, that they didn't stick on really any of the drama points of this last week. It was all about the games. It was all about the preparation. Maybe they'll hit some of that down the road, but nothing on the George Pickens tantrums after his big plays. Nothing on Deontay Johnson skipping out on the Eagles game from the Ravens side of things. So not a lot of the drama aspect. I wonder if they'll work some of that in later, but I was kind of surprised that they didn't do that. Maybe it's because there's so many teams that they're having to do right now.
Well, I would imagine too, as this thing drags on, you're thinking, okay, it's turning into a 2-horse race. So how do we make this compelling television when it's really between just two teams? And I think that some of that drama will get drugged up, and they'll dredge it up and make it something. But don't forget, folks out there listening, all these teams have final say over what is and is not put out there. So they basically take it to the Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals, and Ravens and say, hey, here's what we got. And they can look at it and say, you're not using that, or that's fine. It looks good. So keep that in mind. But all right, you ready to do some AFC North predictions?
Let's do it.
All right. So there's only 2 games because the Ravens run a bye week. The Steelers play the Browns. We'll talk about that game in a second, which leads us to Monday night. Bengals go to the Cowboys, 4-8 versus 5-7. On paper, you would think that, man, Cincinnati should roll in this game, but the Dallas Cowboys have played a little bit better, and they're fighting for their coach, their own professional careers. The Bengals are giving 5 points on the road. What do you think about this one?
I really like the Bengals in this one. I know Dallas has played tough, but the competition in those last couple games has been, they did beat Washington, right? That's one of the games. So that's an interesting situation that happened where Cooper Rush and company just kind of surprised Washington. But their other game was the Giants, since Dak has been hurt. I like the Bengals. I like the Bengals offense to really go off in this game. And I think that their defense can slow down Cooper Rush enough to where this doesn't really get too close. I like the Bengals to score a lot of points and to win. I'm going to say double-digit win for the Bengals this week against the Cowboys. So I'm taking the Bengals on the spread. I'm probably taking the over in this contest as well.
Okay. Yeah, the over-under is set at 49.5. So you're taking the over there.
I'm going to take that over. Yep.
Okay. I like the Bengals as well, and I think they'll cover the 5 for sure. So let's talk about the only other game in the AFC North, the game that everyone cares about. Browns at Steelers, 3-9 versus 9-3. The Steelers are giving 6.5 points with a total of 43.5 right now. Jeremy, how do you see this game playing out, and what's your prediction?
Yeah, I think the defense comes out absolutely on fire for Pittsburgh. They're going to want to show something this week. And I think when we get to watch Hard Knocks, part of the preparation that we'll see is Mike Tomlin really getting on his defense to right the ship after allowing 38 points last week to the Bengals, calling back to a Browns team that had some explosive plays, that got the plays that they needed to win the game in the end on that defense. And I think that they come out ready to rock and roll and to really shut down this Browns team. Now, we'll see if it executes on the field, right? Well, if it's too much hype and they give up a couple big plays and Cleveland can calm them down, I don't foresee that happening. I do think the Browns defense will be game in this one too. I wouldn't expect a 30-40 burger from the Steelers this week. So I'm going to say the Steelers cover. I'm going to take, what's the over under on this one again? 45.5?
43.5.
43.5. I'm going to take the over just barely on this one. I think the Steelers win 27-20 in this game.
Okay. All right. That's close to me. I think the Steelers win this game. When I saw the Steelers beat the Bengals, and then after the way that the Browns acted after the game on Thursday Night Football, I was like, take the Steelers by 100. And I think there is a part of this game that could go sideways fast for the Browns.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think they're gonna keep it close because Jameis Winston, it's a different team with him at the helm. I think they're gonna put up some points, but not enough. I like the Steelers to go over their total. They're over their average for the season right now, which is just shy of 25 points per game. And I've got 29 Steelers, 29 Cleveland, 22 final score, 29-22.
Okay.
Maybe Cleveland gets a late touchdown that makes the score look a little bit different.
Sure.
But I think the Steelers win. I think they cover that spread. And I'm excited for the game. But Jeremy, what do you got coming up? Anything you want to pump up?
I've got a couple things. My one bold prediction I was going to say during my spiel about the game, I'm predicting a Darnell Washington touchdown this week. I think he's due one, and he's going to get a red zone target and turn that into a score. So if you want to bet on that, the odds are really good. For that one as an anytime touchdown score. I got Pat Freiermuth right last week, and the odds were good on that one. So I'm taking my chances again this week on Darnell Washington. We're going to have a good episode. Well, we had it last night of the Q&A check that out. Had a special guest on for that show. And then if you missed the Steelers Fix, we talked about Steelers players who are actually deserving of a Pro Bowl nod. So check that out as well. Follow me on Twitter at @thebets93. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good, man. Have a good one. Enjoy the game. We'll talk next week. Take it easy.
Have a good one, Jeff.